think the worst moment was I was in a band before Deep Purple called Episode 6. We used to do Light My Fire, which was actually a big dramatic slow motion fight as all the music was going on. And I'm every man and I die. There's the devil in the band. Gillan was the god who raised me up again, and I reached up from the stage, he held my guitar like a cross, and I reached up and I came to life again, and I walked to the front and stood on the microphone and I did a big scream and the music came thundering back in. Except for, I think it was at Manchester University, something like 1966 or 7. I realised just before I did the scream that everyone was sort of looking at me and laughing. And I had these flowery bell bottoms, very tight, and the zip was undone. So all the drama went out of it. And when I realised and I looked down and saw myself hanging out, I mean, fortunately I had underwear on, but that was a pretty embarrassing moment.
It's a tough gig, the Purple gig, for a keyboard player, so you're really striving away. And then suddenly Ian Gillan goes, "Oh no, coming down from the Olympian heights on keyboards, Don Airy," and you have to take over for 5 minutes on your own. It's always a tough one, but I wouldn't feel I was doing my job properly if I didn't take it on every night.
I think having the opening in the show is probably just suddenly seeing, it's the first time you're meeting the audience, and they've gone through hours of driving there, getting the car parked, and maybe there's an opening act or 2 opening acts, and they're finally anticipation of the show is starting to happen. So they're seeing us for the first time, or not for the first time ever, but for the first time during the night, and we're seeing them for the first time, and so it's this instant energy, and that's the audience is what makes the show come alive. The music in a rehearsal room, you can feel that, all right, this is going to be good, this is going to work, but it's not magic until the people are there.
Best moment on stage. It's that instant where you know that the show is going to be fantastic. And it's usually within 10 seconds of going on stage, you hear everything, you feel everything. And there's like a subliminal understanding between everybody on stage that it's all going to be easy. It's all just going to do exactly what you want it to do. And they're very rare, those nights when it comes and you hear everything like you're in a studio. It's pure and clean and virginal and just makes you smile. They're the magic moments.
I don't really appreciate that until afterwards.
Every moment on stage is intense in a way, because people say, "What's it like on stage?" And you go, well, it's like you really know that you're alive, because your brain is going in overdrive in milliseconds as you're listening to everyone and playing and moving with everyone. But probably the proudest moment for me, I think, was at the Albert Hall, 1999, when we did the concerto again 30 years later. And we were all, as a band, yes, but we were all individuals. We all did individual things. And the moment I walked out on stage, after John had introduced me, to see the crowd all applauding me, not just the band. That was a pretty special moment. I can't think of anything else right now.
I can't think of anything that compares in my private life to what goes on stage. It's a different universe, it's completely different.
Birth of children. I was there for the birth of all my children, and it doesn't get much more intense than that.
I think when I got my children baptised, that's a very intense moment. I don't know why that is.
The odd occasion my football team wins is fantastic. That's great. Every 3 months when I get a new grandchild, that's fantastic. That's about it, really.
when I see my son, well, I don't get to, see very often. When I see him, it's very intense and we're very close, and that makes life seem bigger and more special.
No idea. Not a clue. According to the royalties I've received, I would say 11 or 12.
None. I was never a salesman.
How many records? Well, I'm not quite sure, but my publisher tells me they think it's close to 150 million with all the albums and things I've worked on, which I found slightly ludicrous, but if it's true, it's pretty amazing.
More than 10. And less than 500 million.
About 25, maybe.
Like I'm likely to tell you now on camera, yeah. Pretty open with each other after all these years. I mean, there's not much to hide.
Not really. I understand Ian Pacey's smelly feet. I understood that in the early days. He cultivated that on purpose so he could have his own room. So Roger would share with John and I would share with Richie, and nobody would share with Pacey because of his stinking feet. Well, we'd moaned about it, but I never told him I understood that. But I don't think he's lost any sleep over it.
No, I'm just too kind to tell him the truth.
You know, when you're living in a small group, it's like a family. And some things you don't say until it gets too extreme, and then you know it's going to all kick off, so perhaps best not to.
Well, I think today that I play the organ in church. I think when on the previous session when I revealed that, they were all a bit surprised.
Unfortunately, I don't think there's much I've held back. So no.